How's it going, everyone? I'm back from Blizzcon. I actually just got back. And I've never really felt the need to do one of these kinds of videos until, well, this weekend during the event because of a lot of the stuff that's surrounding it. And I want you to know right up front, this is not going to be a video bashing it. This is a video that is kind of meant to help settle some people down or relieve them of their concerns, as I was one of those who had that. But the fortunate thing about attending BlizzCon is you're actually able to have the opportunity to go and speak with some of the people directly involved and try to get firsthand information from them to kind of get more clarification on things. If you don't know what I'm referring to, it's obviously going to be about Diablo, but I'll get to that in a bit. I do want to kind of go over some of the other things that happened that I did like. First off, thank you, Mike Morhaime. I wasn't sure if he was actually going to be there, but he showed up, and he gave a big thank you, and he literally pretty much, like, essentially passed the torch to J. Allen Brack right there on stage. I actually pulled up the summary to kind of remind myself of all the things that happened in regards to the announcements and such. So he passed the torch to J. Allen Brack, showing his admiration for Morhaime, letting him know how that if it wasn't for his contributions and his passion, none of this would have happened. They announced that Zeratul is going to be a co-op commander for StarCraft 2, which, considering that I personally still like playing the co-op commander mode for StarCraft, I'm looking forward to that. And I did try him out at BlizzCon, and I found him very interesting in his style. Definitely looking forward to showing that when he is released for StarCraft 2 live, and we take a look at how he works. Heroes of the Storm. We got another new hero coming, and it's a brand new original character that has never been in any of the other Blizzard games. This is a Nexus Heroes of the Storm only character in relation to the Raven Lord announcer from Cursed Hollow, Orphea. And I tried her out at BlizzCon, and I can tell you that she's a pretty good character. She's just not going to be a character that I would personally play on a regular basis, because she is a character that rewards players who are good at landing skill shots. If you're a skill shot player, you're going to love Orphea. She's very rewarding in that regard. Cooldown reduction and such. Quite a bit of damage, and some crowd control as well. So if you're really good at skill shot characters like Ana and Hanzo, I think you're going to enjoy Orphea. She also has quite a bit of mobility as well, which is pretty interesting. So that was cool, getting to see stuff on Orphea. They went, then I think World of Warcraft was next. They talked some about the stuff for Battle for Azeroth. They also got more, but they really didn't go that much into it. They kind of saved that for the panel later. But what they did show was the new cinematic involving Saurfang and Anduin, and I loved it because it had Saurfang saying something that resonated with me and many other people so much that when we heard him say it, we cheered, where he said, "All I want is my horde back," which for those of us like myself who are siding with Saurfang in this regard, we cheered, and we were like, we feel the same way. So I love that cinematic, and that they are kind of leaning or hinting that that's kind of a direction that it's probably going to go in WoW. So that was cool. They did, talk about WoW Classic. Let me just, I'm not one of those who wants to, I don't want to talk negatively about WoW Classic or anything like that. I never played WoW Vanilla, so I was curious to see what it was like. So I tried out the demo. I don't think the Vanilla era is for me. Now, I've also heard some people say who did play Vanilla that they have no interest in going back to play it again because, well, it wasn't that fun of an experience for them, and they would not want to relive that experience again. Some people love it. Some people were like, yeah, we did it, but we don't want to do it again. After trying it out myself, I feel like it's not something I wouldn't want to regularly play. Maybe I'll try it out a bit more because it was just a demo, but I feel like the vanilla era is not an era for me. But I'm not trying to negatively speak about vanilla or classic or anything. I'm just saying it's may not be for me. But they also yeah, you know what? I'm not even gonna bother with the Hearthstone stuff. I don't know. That was not really something I was really interested in or cared about. But the big thing, this was the biggest news for me. This is the one that got the biggest positive reaction from everyone. They are remaking Warcraft 3. Oh my gosh, guys. It was so cool being there when it was revealed, when they showed the newly updated version of the original trailer of the game with the modern graphics to show that it was a remake. Everybody went nuts. The crowd exploded. They were going, I was one of them. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And then they showed the gameplay stuff, and oh my gosh, guys, I cannot wait for this to come out. I tried the demo, which was just the culling of Stratholme mission, and it looks so good. The cutscenes are all redone. It looks so much better. The gameplay is just as good, just as great. I think they could do some tweaks here and there in terms of the UI and such. I did give them feedback to ask them to perhaps add more options, for people to customize it and have their own personal experience. I suggested that they add more difficulty options, both harder and easier, for people who like perhaps playing brutal on StarCraft, or for those who just want to just go through it just to experience the story, like adding a casual difficulty like they did with StarCraft, things like that. I also was curious if the cheats were still going to be able to work or not. So they kind of took that feedback, and so who knows, that may come into play later on. But I am so looking forward to playing that again. So then they did pass it to Hearthstone, whatever. If you loved it, that's great. I hardly play Hearthstone, so. Then, oh boy, here's the big one. Then they got to Diablo. Now, you guys need to understand. And I'm sure many of you who might be watching this may also understand that many people had super high expectations and hype because they thought there was going to be a huge announcement. Now, I wanted you guys to know right off the bat, I personally was not either not really expecting a Diablo 4 to be announced. To me, it's a little too soon, especially because I still feel like there's still more they can do with Diablo 3 before they move on to a brand new game in Diablo 4 and put all their focus and attention on that. I would have been cool with them announcing either a remake of Diablo 2 or even Diablo 1. Either one, I think I would have been cool with that. Or even an expansion for Diablo 3. It's something that I've been saying that they could do to kind of wrap some things up in Diablo 3 that were unfinished before you move on to a whole new game in Diablo 4. But then they announced Diablo Immortal. And as soon as I heard him say Wyatt Chang, and I feel so bad for Wyatt Chang. I feel so bad for the guy. As soon as he said the words mobile platform, I immediately realized it was a mobile game. And I just kind of put my face in my hands, and I was just like, oh, no. Because I could kind of tell where this was going. And that was it. And that's how it ended. And it just felt like the room had the air sucked out of it. Everyone just felt deflated. I had a knee-jerk reaction of just being so upset and irritated about it. Though since then I calmed down and relaxed. Eventually, yesterday, in the second day of BlizzCon, I did go over to try it out to see what it was like. And I will say, as far as mobile games go, it's not bad. Though a lot of people have been pointing out that it looks very similar to some other Diablo knockoffs and ripoffs from this Chinese company that has been making it. So I can understand why some people would be kind of upset and concerned about that, about it being basically just a copy another uh, of another game. But even regardless of that, it's the gameplay and such. It still felt okay. Obviously, the big concern that many of us, including myself, have is regards to how aggressive are they going to be with the microtransactions. And I let them know that to me this felt like something that Activision was making them do. So here's the thing. After I tried the demo, I went over to basically the way this works. For those of you who have never been at BlizzCon, the way this works is they have the people with the blue shirts that say Blizz Crew. The people who are working the demo for that particular game, they are usually like people that are part of that game's development team. If like the people who are working the line for the Heroes of the Storm demo, those are part of the Heroes of the Storm development team. So I was pretty sure that the people working the Diablo one were part of the Diablo development team. So I wanted to be able to talk to one of them. Just one-on-one, on my own, with no one around, no cameras, no nothing. So I got to talk to extensively to one of them. And I want you guys to know that I hope this is something that can kind of, relieve, maybe calm yourself down, maybe relieve you of your concerns. I let him know about my concerns, obviously. And this is kind of what I got from him. He wanted to reassure me this is not the only thing that they have been doing. He wanted to assure me they have multiple teams and multiple people working on various different things that are Diablo related. He wouldn't give me the specifics. I have a feeling maybe he's not legally allowed to give me the specifics, and if so, I can understand that. He basically summarized it as good things come to those who wait. That's what he basically said to me to try and summarize what he was trying to tell me. He's saying, look, we just asked you guys to be a little bit more patient. Now, for those of you wondering, why would they announce this at BlizzCon? Because I've been seeing a lot of that recently. A lot of people are asking, why would they announce something like this at BlizzCon? The thing is, guys, if you recall last year, they had nothing. They had absolutely nothing to announce or talk about at BlizzCon. And he told me that really, you could say it upset them or saddened them, or they were very sad about it or depressed about it. They did not like that they had nothing to announce or talk about or offer at last year's BlizzCon. So they basically wanted something. They wanted to get something out for this year's BlizzCon. Whether or not this is what it should have been, that's obviously extremely debatable. The thing is, I'm not opposed to them having a mobile game version of Diablo as long as it's not the only thing. And I told him that was my one of my concerns, and he said, no, trust me, it's not. And I think he basically acknowledged to me that he felt they didn't really get the message across to everyone on the stage, whether it was through Wyatt Chang or such, that they didn't really communicate to us very well that this is not the only thing they're doing. This is not all that they've been focusing on. They are working on other things, and I'm taking that as they perhaps are either working on a Diablo 2 remake, or they are working on an expansion for Diablo 3, or maybe they are working on Diablo 4. But I told him that you have to try and at least acknowledge that on stage to help calm us down, because it's coming back vehemently against them. I will admit, though, and acknowledge, I didn't like how during the Q&A, when they got booed, when someone asked, is this going to eventually be available on PC? And they said they didn't have plans to put this on PC, and they got booed. And the response to that I didn't necessarily appreciate, when they got booed and they said, do you guys not have phones? That came across as very insulting. very down-putting to. I mean, this is your customer base. These are your fans. You know, we paid a lot of money to be able to come there and attend in person, and you're gonna talk down to us like that? It came across very insulting. You know, I felt bad for Wyatt Chang, but in that moment, I kind of was like, why would you say that to us? You know, I didn't think that was the right thing for him to say, especially if they're trying to fix the PR nightmare that they are having right now. It's. I mean, I do feel better about the fact that they basically told me that, don't worry, this is not the only thing we're doing. More is on the way. Just be a little bit more patient. Now, I'm a very patient individual myself. I'm extremely patient. I've had a lot of practice in that regard. I work at a retail store, for goodness sakes. You have to be patient if you're going to work at a retail store, especially for a number of years, which I have. So trust me, I'm a very patient individual. So if I have to wait a little longer for more like Diablo content in terms of Diablo 3 or Diablo 4 or Diablo Remake, fine. Am I personally going to play the Diablo mobile game? More than likely not, because I'm not a fan of mobile games. I've tried out Hearthstone. I check it out from time to time. I will say that Hearthstone at times doesn't feel very aggressive with the monetization and microtransactions, you know, where I can just kind of try out the solo adventure stuff and there's like no reason to do any monetization there because it's kind of like it creates the cards for you. So in that regard, sometimes Hearthstone can be pretty fun, but we have to wait and see when it goes live how they're going to do that with this Diablo game. If they are able, you know, now I even brought this up with the dev that I spoke to, and he said, "Don't worry, there's no evil overlord, you know, watching over us, telling us what to do." He was basically acknowledging the accusations that we've been saying about Activision forcing them to do this, and he said, you know, he was like kind of mocking it, like, you know, like trying to assure us, like, there's no evil overlord telling us to do this. I think that was I could tell he's kind of he was someone who was kind of getting sick of hearing that. Whether it's true or not, you know, I'd like to give them the benefit of the doubt that he's telling me the truth, but we'll have to wait and see. So if Blizzard is able to hold back on filling this mobile game with microtransactions, even though that's how mobile games make money, let's just say I'm not exactly dying to play this anymore. Am I okay with it existing, like, just for the market that does play it, for people who do want to play it? Sure, you know, but don't either neglect your main fan base or don't try to force your main fan base to be excited about it when they're clearly not. And it seemed like that sometimes is what they were doing. Like, they were trying to get us all excited about it when we're not. And if we weren't excited, then they just kind of, you know, that "you guys don't have any phones" response, I think was kind of, this is not the way you go about it. This is not how you go about trying to fix the reaction of your fan base in this regard. So I'm not one of those who's planning on, you know, like, I've seen a lot of the negative reactions, like the like and dislike thing, you know, on the trailer and such. That was like, people were immediately finding out about that at BlizzCon. It was definitely, we were definitely aware of that stuff. I say cool that they are adding something else to another market, but, you know, acknowledge, you know, I don't know if there's some kind of legal thing written in their contracts that they are not allowed to speak about it, but if they had at least gotten on stage, here's how I would have wanted them to break this news to us. I think they went about it the wrong way. Here's how I think they should have announced it in the ceremonies to just kind of make everyone feel better and relieved. I would have had Wyatt Chang come out and say, "All right, so first off, guys, we are fully aware that you guys want this and this, that you want Diablo 4, you want an expansion for Diablo 3, you want a Diablo remake. We are fully aware of that stuff. It's just not ready yet, okay? We are working on it, okay? We are working on those things. It's just not ready yet. But to hold you guys over in the meantime, if you want your Diablo fix, we do have something for those of you who are interested. We have a mobile game. But if you're eager for those other things, trust me, we're working on them. They're just not ready yet because they're not good enough yet. We want to take our time with this. We've heard feedback. We want to make sure we learn from the mistakes we made with the previous games. Like when Diablo 3 launched, we want to make sure we don't make those kinds of mistakes. Auction house. You know, he could like do that just kind of as a joke to acknowledge that, to get a laugh from the crowd. Just, you know, like kind of just mention all that stuff. And I think if they just acknowledge that stuff, you know, I heard someone bring this up, and I think it was a good point. It doesn't matter how far or close in development it is. If you at least acknowledge it, it gets the buzz and it gets everyone hyped and happy. Here's an example. At this past year's E3, at the Bethesda conference, Elder Scrolls talked about Fallout 76, and many people were not happy. They were not happy about Fallout 76, especially when they found out it was an online game. People were not happy. But Bethesda saved face, and you know how? They said, by the way, we're working on something else. And they announced Elder Scrolls 6. And that's all everyone was talking about. Everyone was so hyped. They were so excited about Elder Scrolls 6. That's how you save face. If they announce the Diablo mobile game, and then they say, by the way, we're working on something else, and then the words Diablo 4 flash on the screen, just as an, you know, something like that, the place would have gone insane. And then they would have been like, all right, thank you, have a great BlizzCon. Everyone would have been like, oh my gosh, you know, they announced Diablo 4, they announced, you know, there's so many, just doing things like that would have made this so much better. And I feel like Blizzard has had this history where they've made these mistakes that on paper may sound good, but in execution it ends up kind of, you know, falling back. How do I put this? It comes back to kind of bite them in the butt. Is probably one way to put that. Like the way Diablo 4 launched, or Diablo 3 launched, excuse me, with Error 37 and all that. The way World of Warcraft launched with all the server issues and things like that. They've had a number of these kinds of problems in the past, and they seem like a company that they make mistakes. They do try and learn from their mistakes, but they do make those mistakes nonetheless. And I think this is something that they're going to look back on and go, what were we thinking taking this approach? It was about how they approached it. Had they approached it differently, as like, by the way, we do have a mobile game, but we're also working on this and this and this and this, that would have made everyone feel a lot better. But they made it come across like this was the big thing. This was the only thing they were working on. That they were so excited about this, and that's what had a lot of people upset and ticked off. Especially, you know, just I think they should have approached this announcement way differently to save themselves some face and PR, because right now they are not doing themselves any help or favors. A lot of people are mad right now. I personally feel better having gotten a chance to talk with one of the devs and having him assure me that more things are coming, more things are on the way, which I took as it could mean a number of things. It could mean the things we've talked about, a remake of one of either of the first two Diablo games, an expansion for Diablo 3, Diablo 4. It could mean a number of things, which I'm looking forward to when they eventually happen. You know, Diablo Immortal, for those who like it, who want to play it, looking forward to it, great, awesome, fantastic. I hope you absolutely love it. I hope it doesn't become an egregious, aggressive monetization, mobile microtransaction type of mobile game, you know, like many others are. I hope it's fair and balanced, or that maybe this could, you know, who knows. If I found out there was hardly any microtransactions in there, I would be pretty surprised, but it would be a pleasant surprise. And I think that if that was the case, that would win back a lot of favor right now from a lot of people, because a lot of people are just like declaring that they're done with Blizzard. Um, that it's over. It's done. I personally don't think that's the case. Having gotten a chance to actually speak to them and actually get some of that firsthand information. But unfortunately, many people are not going to have that opportunity. I hope this is a way that the word can spread from those of us who were there, who actually did get to speak with them, that this is a project, but it's not the project, that there is more things that they are doing and working on. The main reason they did this announcement was because they wanted to not have anything to present or announce for 2 BlizzCons in a row. They hated not having anything to announce at last year's BlizzCon. They wanted to make sure they had something to announce or talk about at this year's BlizzCon. They didn't want to be completely absent like they were last year. 2 years ago, they announced the Necromancer, and that was awesome. Last year, they had nothing. This year, they wanted to have something because they hated not having anything. I'm sure the StarCraft team feels the same way, even though they did announce Zeratul as a co-op commander. But I've heard that the team that works on StarCraft is actually the team that was working on Warcraft 3, which is awesome. I love that. Though I hope, StarCraft eventually gets more stuff, more content, or they eventually move to, who knows, if they maybe decide to do a StarCraft 3. I don't know. I don't know what's going to go on with StarCraft. I do know that there's more stuff they can do with Diablo, and based on what they told me, it's on the way. We just have to be a lot more patient. Now, the thing is, a lot of people are not nearly as patient as others are. So I think they wanted it now. But then again, we've seen what happens with games when they are rushed out the door and are not given time to be really good. The reason CD Projekt Red waited so long to release Witcher 3 was because they even said themselves, they even announced, or like when they were asked about why they were delaying the release of Witcher 3, they said, because it's not good enough. And I went, oh, I like that response. And when the game came out, it was amazing. And we look back on Witcher 3 as one of the best games ever made. So if that's the kind of approach that they take in terms of PR to the fan base, that if they come out and say, we're not ready to release Diablo 4 yet because it's not good enough yet, if they do something like that, I think that makes a lot of people feel a lot better about it, that they are wanting to take their time, learn from the mistakes of Diablo 3, and make it as good of a game as it could possibly be. So, knowing that knowledge from the developers, having gotten to speak with them, I feel better about the not so much near future, but distant future. Hopefully not too distant. I didn't get any specifics in terms of how soon or how far away we are from that stuff we were hoping for. Who knows? Maybe at next year's BlizzCon, they will announce all of that. Like, by the way, now we have the remake, we have the expansion, we have Diablo 4 on the way. It's like, maybe by next year, they announce all of that. And if so, awesome. We'll just have to kind of wait and see what goes on. But I think right now they are trying to focus on trying to save themselves from all this negative backlash, because there are a lot of people and a lot of sites and that are just hammering Blizzard right now. In some regard, I understand it, but in some regard, it's like, okay, let's calm down, guys. Let's settle down, okay? But so those are my thoughts. My takeaway is I'm not really gonna be focusing on the Diablo stuff because it's a mobile game, but I'm not really interested in playing it. What I am taking away from this is Warcraft 3 remake. Yes, and I cannot wait for that to come out this in the summer. I cannot wait to do another playthrough because, yes, I fully plan on recording Warcraft 3 because, as you guys probably know, my original playthrough that I recorded of Warcraft 3 had technical problems. See, the original game is a little difficult to record because of the format that's required to play it for both in-game and the cinematics. The cinematics wouldn't run properly if you had it on a certain format. And this, like, for example, the sound glitched out during the cinematic when Arthas becomes the Lich King, just because. So there was a lot of technical issues for me when trying to record Warcraft 3. So I'm hoping all those things are going to be fixed and not become an issue at all when it comes out. And if so, I'm looking forward to reliving that amazing game with the more modern remake that they're doing. And I'm looking forward to sharing that with you guys and recording that as another playthrough. I know you're probably wondering, well, if you're going to do that for Warcraft 3, why didn't you do that for StarCraft Remaster? The thing is, StarCraft Remaster didn't really do that much in terms of a remake. In terms of the gameplay, I looked at the gameplay and I was just like, okay, it's just kind of a buffed up resolution, but they didn't like make it StarCraft 2 graphics or anything, which I would have loved if that was the case, but it was still basically same graphics. I love that they updated the portraits and the cutscenes in between missions, but it didn't really feel necessary for me to re-record that just for the upgraded portraits. But Warcraft 3, that looks like a full legit remake, which I cannot wait to play. So I would like to forget about all the negative stuff surrounding Diablo Immortal and instead focus and be hyped about Warcraft 3, because that's the biggest positive takeaway here. The reaction that I felt from that crowd in that center when that cinematic played for Warcraft 3, that's a feeling that you have to be there in person to like really experience, because they cut off the sound of the crowd on the stream, because I've seen some people's reaction to the stream and they cut off the sound. Let me tell you guys, in that center, the sound of the crowd reacting to Warcraft 3 being announced was just like, the place was shaking. It was so loud and people were so happy. That's my takeaway from this year's BlizzCon. So that's something you can expect to look forward to when we get to summer of 2019, is Warcraft 3 Reforged. I'm definitely going to be getting that. So those are my thoughts around the situation involving BlizzCon for 2018. I will still be on break. I've been given a lot of hours recently at my retail store because, hey, it's November and we're getting close to Black Friday and holiday shopping hours. So who knows how long this break could go. I'm going to try to find some time in between, or, to, like, perhaps record something. But I'll let you guys know when I'll be coming back to regularly re-upload videos again. Until then, I'll see you guys next time.